Hello, guys. If you're someone that wants to go from business idea to execution and results in just 30 days, I am going to be breaking it all down in this video. So stick around till the end because you're going to be pleasantly surprised and very, very satisfied. All right, let's just jump straight in. So, just as a backstory, I had 3 goals that I told you guys I was going to achieve in the next 90 days. You can check my last 2 videos. That was when I spoke about it. And the 3 goals were work with 5 clients this quarter, 8 to 10 videos on YouTube, and 60 to 80 videos on TikTok. And then the Reset Fast Group Challenge in December. So yeah, those were the things I plan to achieve, and I am well on my way to definitely achieving the other 2 goals because we still have 60 days left in the challenge. But within the first 30 days, I have successfully executed on the first goal, which was work with 5 clients this quarter. And I want to tell you how I went from getting the idea to do that, to work with 5 clients, to actually executing on that idea and then getting results for that goal for my clients and so on and so forth. So that being said, now that you know my backstory, you know that I am qualified to talk about this topic. Let's just jump straight into the source. Okay. All right. So what would you do when you're trying to execute and get results in 30 days? Especially when you're starting from the idea phase. Let's say you have a clear idea of what you're supposed to do, what that business idea is, or what that project is. Or let's say you have no idea, okay? Like it's just jumbles and just a bunch of random stuff that just comes to your mind and you don't really have a clear picture of what you're supposed to do. How do you begin and how do you get from that to execution and results? When it comes to going through that whole phase in just 30 days, you want to be very, very intentional about making sure that the foundation is on point. And what is the foundation? The foundation is making sure that you are actively creating a plan. And when you hear that, you might think, oh, that sounds so boring and so expected. When you say that I'm actively creating a plan, like, of course I'm going to have a plan, or I'm not someone that likes to plan. I like to, go with the wind. You need to plan. You need to take whatever is here and bring it down to here. It could be moving it to a tablet, a phone, a laptop, or even a good old-fashioned notebook. You just need something that you can look at where it's not in your head. You can see it objectively and see how palpable, how realistic this goal is, or this plan is, or this business idea is. You just need to know that this is something that is no longer a dream in your head, is no longer in la la land, is now in reality. That is the first step. You need to just write down everything you know. Even if everything is jumbled in your mind, write down what you know. Write down the little bits and pieces of what you have clarity about, even though it looks confusing. Now, once you have established that, once you have taken care of the planning session, the next step is to have a strategy. Now, when I say have a strategy, you might feel like that sounds a bit complicated, but it's really not complicated. Okay, having a strategy is simply breaking down that big plan or that unclear plan to little bits and pieces of steps, action steps that you can take to help you get there. That is your strategy. Now, I see strategy in 2 different ways. The first strategy is like the little tasks that you break down to achieve your plan or your goal or your vision or whatever. The second strategy is the strategy that God gives you. And I'll explain what I mean in a second. So hang in there. I know you might be a bit confused now, but just hang in there. When you have that jumbled idea written down, then you look at that written down idea and you start to break it down into mini steps, mini tasks. There's always the very first step that you can take. So if, for example, the business idea or the project is, I want to start a fashion house. Okay, now you look at all the clarity that you have and you begin to break them down into bite-sized steps. The first step is, okay, in order to get a fashion house, what do you need? Now, a lot of people feel like, this has to be a very complicated process and requires a lot of brain power. To be honest, you have ChatGPT. These days life is easier. If God has given you a coat of many colors, wear it. If God has made your life easier, take advantage of it. So go on ChatGPT. This is the goal. This is the big picture of what I want to achieve. Help me break it down into small bite steps. And ChatGPT will start to break it down for you. Guess what? You move that down to your paper or your tablet or your phone or your laptop, whatever. So now you have the broken down pieces. So guess what you're going to do? You're now going to allocate each of those broken down pieces into a week. So week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, down to how long it will take you to achieve that. In this case, we're trying to achieve this in 30 days, so that's about 4 weeks. So step 1 is, you can allocate that to week 1, step 2, week 2, step 3, week 3, and step 4, week 4. Make sure that you're doing something every day to move yourself forward in your goal or in your dream or in that thing that God has called you to do. But I'm also aware that life happens, and if you just demarcate those tasks by days, what might end up happening is that you might end up feeling overwhelmed because you're skipping a lot of days and then they start to pile up. But when you arrange them in weeks, I feel like it's more manageable and more realistic for most people. But yeah, that's just my recommendation. Okay, so now we've done the first step, which is write down everything that was in your head, everything and then put that into ChatGPT step 2 so that it can break it down for you in bite-sized tasks, and then you allocate those bite-sized tasks into weeks. So week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. Once you have concluded that, the next step is to move from that into the Jesus strategy, because I said there are 2 strategies. The first strategy is breaking it down. The second strategy is a strategy that God gives. God would usually tell you how to reach a goal, right? Or what you need to do in order to effectively reach that goal. I put it this way: always have a plan, but chances are God is going to take over your plan. But always have a plan. When you have a plan, you have like a starting point and an end point. When you do not have a plan, you're not going to be in motion to even hear God move. Most of the time, when you're actually executing, that's when you get clarity. Okay, so even that God given strategy that I'm talking about, you might most likely hear that strategy when you are in motion, not necessarily when you're just waiting to hear the strategy. Okay, so yeah, you can hear the strategy of the jump, but sometimes you have to literally be taking action, and then God will interrupt you and be like, okay, do this instead of this, and this instead of this, and so on and so forth. Always ask God, how do you want me to go about this goal? Right? How do you want me to go about achieving this goal? So even though I have my week by week task, I also had a question in my heart with regards to how God wants me to achieve my 30-day goals, which was to get my 5 clients. To be honest with you, if you don't hear anything in terms of like a God-given strategy, go on a fast. Why is that beneficial for you? When you go on a fast, certain things happen. The first thing that happens is you free up more time to focus more on the things that matter. So during the time that you're fasted, especially if you're fasting from food or social media or really any distraction, you would have to replace that free time or that now freed up time with something more productive. And in this case, that would be your goals, right? Or your weekly tasks. So let's say, like in my case, I was fasting from food. And previously, when I would wake up, I would most likely, eat within the first 3 hours of myself waking up. Like I am that kind of person that would eat like breakfast 8 a.m., 9 a.m., like super early. But because I was fasting, it's like, okay, I would typically spend 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. eating and most likely watching a movie or watching something, right? So since I'm spending that time doing this and now I'm fasting, I have to allocate that time into something else. So I would now use that time to pursue my goals. So I hope you get that concept. That's one of the reasons why we fast. So right now you are fasting and you freed up more time. Why else do we fast? We fast because in addition to freeing up your time, it also helps you to be sensitive to the spirit. I want to believe that as you're fasting, you're also praying. And so whilst you're doing that task, just be praying under your breath. Because you are praying at some point in the course of your fast, it's also going to heighten your spiritual sensitivity. So when God starts to pivot to you, you're going to be sensitive to the spirit. When God tells you to do something, you're going to hear him immediately. So that is a massive benefit of fasting. So in addition to the fact that you have freed up more time to actually be productive on the things that God has placed in your hands, you've also now started training your spirit to be more sensitive because prayer is involved. And I'm going to encourage you that if you're fasting, you might as well just pray. Okay, that is the second benefit of fasting. The third and final benefit I'm going to share today is it really helps to center you. When you fast, because you're praying, you're not going to be working by your strength anymore. You're going to be working by the strength of the spirit, which is what leads to that peace. It's not going to feel as overwhelming because God is going to take over. You're literally going to feel him working in and through you. So tasks that would have typically taken a very long period of time would be shortened because you're working by the spirit. So you're not just spiritually sensitive, you're not just more productive, but you're also enjoying ease in that task because God is actively helping you. You're feeling more peace, more centered because God is doing the work in and through you. All right, so we've gone from writing it down, and then we've said, okay, when you're done writing it down, make sure that you put it into ChatGPT to give you some broken down steps. And then once you've gotten the broken down steps, allocate it into weeks. Now that you've done allocating it into weeks, ask God for a strategy or what he wants, how he wants you to reach your goal. And if you do not hear anything, just go on a fast. And I've shared with you the benefits of going on a fast. After all of this, you're most likely going to see results. Seeing results is as a result of your actions. Seeing results is as a result of your actions. Yeah, but you get the point. Seeing results is as a result of your actions. So the next step is watch and see. Watch and see. Watch and see. Watch and see. That's the next step, because the more you take action, the more you're going to start seeing results. A lot of people, they obsess over the results and not on the tasks that they need to do to get those results. And the result is a guarantee. It's a given when you're actually executing on those tasks, when you're doing what needs to be done on a daily or weekly basis. Like I said, and I'm going to say it again, when you are executing on your tasks, especially in the context of this 30-day goal, system, I would always encourage you to take a step daily towards your goals. I know that isn't always practical, and some days come up where you are not able to do much. But if you do something towards that business, towards that project, towards that assignment, every single day, you're going to go to bed feeling accomplished. You're going to go to bed feeling like you are on track with the assignment that God has placed in your hands. Are there going to be some things that you might want to do or that you wrote down that you're supposed to do that you don't end up doing? Probably. But ultimately, did you do something every day towards reaching those business goals or ministry assignments or reaching that project or doing that project that God has placed in your hands? Did you do something every day to execute? If your answer is yes, then that was a very successful day. And by the end of 30 days, you should have seen progress. So yes, to answer your question, did I end up hitting that goal? Did I end up getting the 5 clients? Of course I did. Yes, of course I did. I'm not doing it by my strength. I'm doing it with God. So of course I did, right? And now I'm working with them and I'm working towards my second goal, which is the YouTube videos and the TikTok videos. I've been actively posting on TikTok. YouTube is a bit challenging, but we're trying. And then finally, I have a challenge at the end of the year in December. So yes, guys, like I said, I have a challenge in December. It is called the Reset Fast. And if you do not know what that means, it is basically a 30-day prayer challenge. So in essence, I am praying with you for a period of 30 days. We're making declarations and you're basically speaking to that business. You're speaking to that goal. You're speaking to that project and that ministry assignment that God has placed in your hands. And I'm going on this journey with you for a period of 30 days. We are praying and we are fasting and we are taking back control of every single thing that the devil has tried to steal from us or take from us. I hope to go on this challenge with you guys. If you're interested in joining us for the next Reset Fast Prayer Challenge, kindly get your tickets using the link in the description box below or in the pinned comment below. I look forward to going on that prayer challenge with you. See you then. I'm proud of myself for allowing God to be my consistency, to work in and through me. And I know that if you are to involve God in that next project, that next assignment, that next business idea, and if you are to follow these steps, you're going to naturally see results. You're going to naturally move forward. So yeah, if you've been experiencing any form of stagnancy or if you've been feeling stuck, try this strategy. I'm rooting for you and I look forward to celebrating with you and hearing all your wins. So yeah, if you're just coming across my channel for the very first time, hey there, my name is Benny and I am a kingdom execution coach. I basically help Christians execute their God-given business ideas, or businesses, projects, or ministry assignments with ease. So if that sounds like you, if that sounds like something that you're interested in being a part of, check out this video right here where I basically planned out the final quarter of this year. See you there.